Okay, thank you. Like I said last week that we'll start the lecture today by listening to group presentation. So please present your data design starting from group 1. Think. Yeah, Pierre and Gladys.
Okay, sir.
So good afternoon, friends. We are from good morning, friends. Good afternoon, friends and sir. We are from group one, and today we are going to present our database table. Based on our DFD table, there are three databases. There are customer database, menu database, and transaction database. The first one is the customer database. As you can see in the slide, on customer database, there are an information about the customers, including members ID or customer ID, password, customer name, email, address, and phone number. The customer ID is made by the customer itself to log in to the GoFood application. And next, the second one is the menu database. For the menu database, there are two data. There are restaurant list and menu list. The first one is restaurant list. The first one is restaurant list. There are an information about restaurant ID, restaurant name, and the address of the restaurant. Restaurant ID is made from the code from the region and in what order the restaurant signed up as a partner with GoFood. The first number here identify the district. One is for Sleman and two is for Danurejan. The last two digits show the number of the restaurant based on their register time. And the next one is the menu list. This database provides an information about the menu available for display to the customers, menu ID, and also the ID number of the restaurant that sells the menu. Menu ID is made from the combination of the menu number and the ID of the restaurant, as you can see in the slide. And next will be presented by my partner Gladys.
Next is payment data. In this, for payment data table, load data about the payment code and payment options. During the transaction, a customer can choose to pay with either cash or GoPay. Next is driver's data. In this data, there are information about the drivers, including driver's ID, driver's name, phone number, vehicle types, and police number of the vehicle. So the driver's ID here made by the first initial of the driver's name and then what number the driver's register himself to be drivers of GoFood. And this is during the transaction data table. There are 6 components here. They are order ID, customer's ID, menu order, address, driver's ID, date, and time. So the order ID here made by the ID that appeared earlier. The first 3 digits here show the payment method chosen by the customer. 001 for cash payment and then 002 for GoPay payment. And the next 3 digits after payment code is for the restaurant ID. And then the last 4 digits show the date and time when the transaction is on process. Thank you.
Okay, good. Could you go to your first slide, please? The student, the customer ID, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, customer data. Okay. Okay. This is a customary for security reason. When you store customer data, you did not store password in plain sight like this. Okay. So because hacker could go into the system anytime, and if they can find the password, they can easily hack other accounts, still go pay balance, things like that. Okay. Remember about a year ago when we starting to have lockdown, somebody said that they can get or downloaded Tokopedia customer data, but they could not steal the other customers' data because it was encrypted. Encrypted means you change the text like this, like the password or any other information, and change it into some gibberish that nobody can read it except the computer themselves. Let me show you these examples. I'll share you the screen. Okay. Okay. So, for example, this is the practice that I used when I was with the photographer net. Okay. So first, the password itself. For example, my password is password. So this is not a good example, but this is actually just to illustrate. So this is my password. Okay. So immediately after I make the password, it should be changed into this with using this technology, this technique called as HA512. Okay, this is one of the methods to encrypt data. So to change it to some gibberish, as you may see here, my plain password here has been changed into this, and this should be stored into the table instead of the plain. And from time to time, the practice is not only encrypt the password using this kind of technology or any technology if you like. There are so many choices here, but also give what it called as salt, because people understand this as it's A512. People understand this, but so with this understanding, you can crack the password. Okay, so we put something else, something extra that will make it harder to crack. So this is the password, the real password. Usually, I will add with the plus sign, for example, the email taken from the user, and also I will add the address, for example, of the user. So it will change. The password itself is only this part, and from the from the plus sign until the end, this is what we call as solve. So the computer will only try to reverse this to this, and then they know that the password is on the first word in front. Okay, so that's the practice for securing our data. And that's what happened with Tokopedia database. Even though the hacker could copy or download the database, what they see was just gibberish like that. And they could not do anything about it because it was encrypted. And if you look at my example, it really doesn't really make any sense. Okay, and I believe Tokopedia already employed the best encryption that available to them, so it's quite secure. Okay, so next can I see the restaurant or menu, the menu data. Okay, Usually, if you look at the GoFood application, there is a picture of the menu and also the price. I didn't see it here. Did you miss that, or it's deliberate that you didn't include that in your presentation? Gladys?
I think we miss it.
Okay, so just for you. Okay, thank you, group one. Okay, so just
Thank you, sir.
okay, revise that and you'll be fine. Okay, so group two, Maria Putri Bintang and Vincentius Renault.
Can I share the PPT, sir?
Yeah, sure.
So good morning, sir and friends.
Yeah.
Today I am from group 2 with Vincent. Want to share our project to make a database from Natasha Skincare. Here we have 3 database. The first one is membership data. The second is February 21st data sales, and the last is product data per February 28.
Okay, let me ask you, why did you need to put date on product data and sales data?
Because we just collect it on February, not
okay.
all the months, and this is the data from the last February.
Okay. Now, you don't need to put that into the name. You just can call it just product. Okay, it doesn't matter when did you see that. And also, let me see the sales. Okay, so you already have date there, you know. So you don't need to put February 21st or 21 date name on the data. Just call it data or sales data. And then when you want to, for example, you want to know all the sales that happened in February, just take a look at the date. Okay, you can filter that and find all the sales that happened during the month of February, for example. Okay?
Okay, sir. Thank
you. Good. Okay, continue.
Okay, sir. So, February 21 sales data. We have the information about the date, the name of the customers, the country, and the phone number of the product that our customers buy. And then the shipping, the payment, membership, discount, and total payment, also the billing, and the discount and the total payment, and it is were done or not. And then in the membership data, we have information about their membership. The information consists of the card number, their customer name, the country, their phone number, and their address. And then the product data, we have the total of all products that have been sold, and that is the code, and we have also the product number of the product code, and the quantity, and the total price. I think that's all, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Can I see the sales data again, please? So what is the membership column you have it with check mark?
Because if they have the membership, we get a discount 15%. I just add it into the.
Okay. Yeah. So how do you know if a buyer is a member or not?
I think we ask them first before the payment. They have the membership or not.
Okay. So this is what I suggest. Can I take a look at the membership data? Okay. So they have card number, right? Yeah, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So go to sales again. So instead of having membership with check mark, why don't you just put the membership number or card number there? So the customer can mention their card number or present the card number. And then if the card number exists or if the card number is filled in, they will get the discount automatically.
We can try after.
Okay, yeah, that's my suggestion. So rather than just tick there, because if you just tick it, you need to check whether the customer is a real member or not. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, thank you. So that's good. Group 2, Group 3, Jessica, Natalia, and lovely Devina.
Hello, sir.
Yep. Yes, I can see it.
Okay. Good morning, sir and friends. I would like to explain the data from Group 3. We decided to choose the second detail system for the data. The first one is the customer information that consists of the customer ID, the first name of the customer, the last name, the telephone number, email, the address, profile, the state, because Secondit provides shipping for other countries besides Indonesia, the postal code, and the second one is the order details. Consists of the order ID, the customer ID, the product category, the product ID, the product name, the quantity of the product, the unit price, and the discount if there's any promo, the total price, and the shipment ID.
Okay.
And now Jessica will explain the rest of the data.
For the payment, we include order ID, customer ID, payment number, payment time, payment type, account number, and is it paid or not.
Okay.
For the product, data is product category, product ID, product name, unit price, size, unit in stock, unit sold, selling period, and PPO number.
Okay.
And for shipping, shipping ID, where the where ship from, and ship to, postal code, delivery company, carrier code, shipping date, order status.
Okay. Is that all?
Order status is indicate whether
Okay.
the package is still in process or has been received
Okay.
by the customer.
Okay, good. Can I get you to the order details, I think. Okay. So scroll to the right. Which one it has the customer information? Sorry, I was wrong. Okay, customer information. That's okay. No, it's still order that is. You can just go to the tab on the customer information. Yeah, okay. So here's province and state. What you mean by state here, I think this is country. Because state in the United States, it means province. It's simple. So province, and while Chicago is not a province. Chicago is a city. Okay. Chicago, city of Chicago is in Illinois state. Okay. And also other. So in the US, if you look at Colorado, California, that state, and that's equal to province in Indonesia. Okay? While what you mean by state is actually country. Okay?
Okay, sir, I'm sorry.
Okay, good. Oh, that's okay. I just let you know so you can. And next, I saw all the other tables, and I suggest you, instead of, for example, instead of how to revise this, is you look at the revenue cycle and look for examples on shipping. Okay, what you miss here is actually invoice. So remember when I was explaining to you about revenue cycles, that after the customer make an order, they will receive invoice, right? And then shipment payment, it will be connected or related to invoice. Okay, so you don't have invoice here. I don't think you have order, you have payment, you have shipping, but you don't have invoice. So you need to create invoice for that. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Thank you, group 3. So group 4, Faith Joshua and Eleanor Michelle.
Could you see it, sir?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, today I will present about the data tables of Netflix. So the first one is Netflix original movie. There are movie titles, genres, directors, movie cast, writers, release date, ratings, and maturity ratings. So in this table, the primary key is, I think, this one, and
Okay.
the attribute is about this one. Yeah. So the second table is about customer data. It consists of first name, last name, email, password, phone number, zip codes, and expiration date. Then the last table is payment and billing. There consists of email, subscription plan, subscription type, payment, bank, card number, and total payment.
Okay. 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 Can I see the first table, please? Yeah. Okay. Movie title. Movie title is not unique, so it could not be the ID for that. Okay, because for example, there is a movie called Midway that being made in the 70 or 60, and another one released on 2019. Okay. Just a minute. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Sorry for that. I had to deal with something. Okay. Yeah. So movie title is not unique. Okay. You need to create ID for that, and also customer. I don't see any primary key for customers. Okay. You need to also create ID for customers, and also then the ID for payment will be linked to that customer ID. Okay, and lastly, if I'm not mistaken,
Thank you, sir.
no, if I'm not mistaken, there is a information about credit card number, right? Again, it's good practice that you hide the password with XXXX, but that could also be applied to credit card number. Okay, it should be hidden from plain sight. I know that for this probably you don't know yet, but in the future, for future references, this information, sensitive information, should be hidden. Okay, good. Thank you. Where is your partner actually, Eleanor?
I don't know, sir. He
Okay.
didn't text me back.
Okay. So, and last but not least, Jonathan Reja and Hildegard Arnaldo, please present your design.
Okay, sir. Can you see our screen, share screen?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for your time. I will present our work. Our business project is about business process is about Tokopedia. So the first data customer CD, email, verified. This verified is about like if you log into Tokopedia, you have to verify your phone number. Yeah. So it will. Yeah, you will be any access you can like try to any access with verified phone number data. And last about customer ID. Next, we'll go to seller.
Let me ask you, what's the difference between ID and customer ID?
The ID is actually we think that this the normal number is just like 1, 2, 3, 4, like the number. So
so it's just sequence numbers?
Yes, I think.
What for? Is there any use for that?
Not really, I think, sir.
Okay. Look, if you think a column is not actually needed or required, you can just erase it, because it will one, it make somebody else confused. Second, although it look like just one digit of number, it still add to the storage. Okay, so if you are having limitation on storage, that's a good idea to erase unneeded data.
Okay, sure. Thank you for your correction.
No worries. So continue.
On seller data, we have first name, last name. It's about and we have phone number, date of birth, seller address, city, and store name. And the last thing is Tokopedia partner. Okay. It's like verified from Tokopedia, so the store will have any like product discount, like a privilege. That's all. And the last thing is about product. The product is consistable of product name, product ID, category, warranty, weight, and price.
Okay. Okay. Customer data. I don't see any problem apart from the ID. Oh, yeah, the product ID. Okay. That's it. I think my input is just about the ID and customer ID. Thank you, Kurfive. That's good.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, now some of you already use Microsoft Access for your presentation, which is good. It's not required, but it's always good. So for the next assignment, if you look at Kuliah site, let me open it. It will be on actually creating the database. Okay, so I already give you some advice, some revision, some input about your database design. The next step is you need to create database in Microsoft Access. Okay, first, you need to create all the tables. And then create the forms for adding data into the tables. So if you want to enter new data into the tables, you need to create forms. Okay, but not every table should have forms. Okay, for example, let me see. Oh, so for example, if you already for invoice, for example, invoice could not be created by entering data. Invoice will be created by taking data from customer, taking data from product, and taking data from order. For example, if I, as customer, order 5 units of mobile phone product, then the price for that will be 5 times the price of 1 unit of mobile phone, and that's the invoice. Okay, so there is no form for invoice. That's just one example. Okay, but you can. However, if you think that all tables need forms, that's fine. Okay, you can have it. Okay. So first create all the tables. Second, create the forms for adding the new data into the tables, and then you need to fill all the tables with data, at least 25 records or lines, 25 items of data. Okay. So that's it for the next. You have 2 weeks for that. And remember, next week we will have a break because of Idul Fitri. So it's up to you how would you doing it. Okay, but on the next lecture after you need on Monday, 17th of May, you need to present your work. Okay, so it's basically for you who already use Microsoft Access, you just need to revise your tables, and then you need to create forms and then adding the data into the form. Into the tables. Okay, 25 at least. Any question about this assignment? Is it clear? Okay. Thank you. Now we will discuss our lecture topic today, which is expenditure cycle. So when we discuss revenue cycle on our last lectures, we see all the process, all transaction from the seller point of view. But now we see the same process, we see the same transaction, but from the buyer perspective or point of view. So on revenue cycle, you will act as the seller, and now we will act as the buyer. Now, expenditure cycle is unique in Indonesia. Why? Because a lot of corruption cases in the past related to this cycle. For example, you probably heard about the sports complex in Hambalang. Okay, that it was built with trillion of rupiah budget, and then it was useless because it's have something to do with the structure of the land, and so basically it's useless. A lot of people have been goes to jail because of that. And then the eKTP project. Okay, a lot of people went to jail because of corruption, and those corruption related to expenditure cycle. Okay, I'll tell you which part of expenditure cycle will be vulnerable or will be critical to fraud. Okay. Let me share my slide. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So expenditure cycle, purchasing to cash disbursement. So this is the mirror or the opposite of revenue cycle. Okay. So the primary external exchange of information is buyers or vendors, and information flow to expenditure cycles from other cycles. Basically, other cycles will tell the expenditure cycles what product they need, how much or how many, and when. Okay. Expenditure cycle will also give information to other cycles when the product or services that they order are ready, okay, or has been run. And also obviously to generate ledger and reporting function for creating financial report. Okay, so the primary objective of expenditure cycle is to minimize the total cost of acquiring and maintaining inventory, supplies, and services. So this is the total cost, not only purchasing costs, but also operational costs, maintaining costs, and later if the product that you use already useless, the cost to throw it away or probably recycle costs. Okay? And this need to be considered. A lot of many times, in many cases, people tend to buy the cheapest product available. Well, if you only look at the purchase price or buying price or the cost of that product, cheapest is not always the best. And if you look at the long run, as long as you have that product and using it, this probably will be more expensive. Okay, let me give you these examples. Many years ago, I saw a taxi company in Yogyakarta were using Korean-made car, South Korea, obviously not North Korea. So it was cheap. Okay, it was cheap. But then a few years after that, they replaced the old car. That's common practice for taxi company to replace their armada every few years. But this time, instead of buying Korean car, they bought Japanese cars, which was more expensive to buy. Okay, the price of Japanese cars are usually more expensive than Korean cars. So one day when I ride one of those taxi, I asked the driver, so why did your company decided to switch from Korean car to Japanese car? So the driver said, Korean car, although it was cheap to buy, was expensive to maintain. So he said that on their experience with Japanese cars, what they need to do for the first year, remember the first year, was only having regular service, like regular oil change, regular maintenance, and that's it. While the Korean car, on the first 3 months, most of them need to part replacement. Something from the engines was broken and need to be replaced, and that's expensive. Okay. So in the long run, it would be more expensive. So again, total cost. Okay, another examples. Buy paper. This is example, simple example. Buy paper for printer. You probably want to have the cheapest paper available, but cheapest paper might not be the cheapest option. Why? Because cheapest paper tend to have, if you print a picture, for example, it won't be as sharp as the more expensive paper, and therefore it will be used more ink or toner than more expensive paper. And then if you have unsharp image printed on that paper, you cannot use that. You have to discard it. Okay, and probably the paper is not wide enough, so it's useless to use that paper. So this thing, okay, many things. That's why if you later graduated and working as purchaser or buyer or procurement, the term is procurement, you need to pay attention to this. Okay. Okay, so what are the decisions need to be made? First, what level of inventory and supply should we carry? Remember, too many inventories means that you have to keep some inventories unsold, and that's cardinal sins in business. Okay, because if you have unsold inventory sit in your warehouse, the value of that inventory will be decreasing over time. Okay, while it was sitting in the warehouse, you need to pay for having the inventory in the warehouse. You need to pay depreciation for the warehouse. You need to pay people to manage the inventory. Okay, and for some product, they require special environment like special temperature, special humidity, and technology and electricity for creating the special environment is also expensive. That's why the best inventory is the one that will be sold or used immediately. Okay. The longer inventory stay in a warehouse, it will cost us more. Okay. What vendors provide the best price and quality? So I'll explain to you later about how to select vendor. This is the place where you need to pay special attention. Why? Because vendor selection is where the fraud happens. Okay, a lot of vendors or suppliers willing to bribe or provide gratification so their product could be selected. And that's what happened with Hambalang, that's what happened with iKTP. Okay. Where should we store the goods? Ideally, the goods should be stored closer to the factory if it's materials for production, or to the customer if it's a retail company. Can we consolidate purchase across unit? Like in Atmajaya, for example, our faculty needs paper, engineering faculty needs paper, industrial technology needs paper. So if all faculties need paper, we need to consolidate that into single purchase. Why? Because the bigger purchase you have, you will get better condition and you will get better discount. Okay. How can IT improve? We'll see that. And is there enough cash to take advantage of early payment discount? And how can we manage payment to maximize cash flow? I was working as financial manager for a startup almost a decade ago. So what I did was I will postpone payment to my supplier as long as I could. Why? Because we need to have cash in our company as long as possible. Okay. There are some expenditure that could not be delayed, like for example, payroll or salary. There is a requirement, regulation from the government that we have to pay employees on certain date every month. No more than that. So if we break that regulation, there will be punishment. Tax to the government, we need to pay tax every month, the value added tax, and that's some payment that could not be delayed. So I will delay the payment to supplier as long as I could to have cash in our company for those kind of needs. Okay. Okay. Now, what are the activities? It's mirror of revenue cycle, which are ordering goods, supplies, and services, receiving and storing this item, and also paying for these items. Okay, ordering. So the problem or the key issue here is what product need to be purchased, when, and how much, and also from who. So we need to have accurate information on what product to buy, how much, and when. And the methods of doing this is called the inventory control methods. So there are three methods to control our inventory. First, this is the old methods and has been replaced by the other two. Material economic order quantity, this is the old one, and then it was replaced by materials requirements planning and just in time. Okay. So what economic order? With economic order quantity, this is so the goal is maintain enough stock so that production does not get interrupted. So there is a formula of AOQ to calculate optimal order size by considering ordering costs, carrying costs. This is the cost to keep the inventory in warehouse, and also stock out costs or cost if we running out of inventory. Okay. Share you the so what's with this AOQ, economic order quantity? So say you need 1,000 unit of inventory for 1 year, okay, but you cannot buy those 1,000 unit in January. Why? Because you will have 1,000 unused inventory in, and probably your warehouse would not be able to hold 1,000, and nobody can supply you with 1,000. So how many inventory should we buy throughout the years? And that's where economic order quantity come in handy. Okay, let me share the this one. Okay. So this is the, oh no, this is not a good, let me see, try to find. So this is the formula for economic order. So this Q is the quantity of order, is the square root of 2ds divided by h. D is demand in units. So basically annual basis, like I said, 1,000 for example per year. S is the order cost per purchase order. So, and H is holding cost per unit per year. So for example, if by using AOQ 1,000 unit per year, we need to order, every time we order, the optimum size of order is 250 unit. So we order 4 times a year. So each time will be 250. Okay, that's the formula. And how it looks like to have AOQ. Okay, let me use this. Can you see this? Okay, is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So it's white, right? Okay, let me. Okay. So this is typical graphic on showing you this is the quantity and this is time. So it's typical. Okay. Let's change the. So typically, when you purchase materials or inventory and it arrives from the supplier, it will be here. So this is 0. It will be on that level. Okay, and then you use that inventory for production or sell that inventory. So it will goes down. Okay, over time.
Sir, sorry.
Now, yeah.
I think there are no chart or anything.
Okay. For that, change that. Yeah, it's different. I'll share the screen then. Okay, can you see this?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Thank you for. So this is typical graphic for so Q is the amount of inventory and T is the type. Okay, so at the beginning when you buy the inventory from supplier and supplier deliver the inventory, it will be at this level, and then you use that inventory, the level will decrease over time. Okay, so in AOK there is a concept called reorder point. That is the amount of inventory that you need to purchase or order the inventory. That's this blue line. Okay, this is the reorder point or RO or ROP, sorry, reorder point. So let me take this back. So when you use the inventory and it touches the blue line, it means that you need to start ordering the inventory. You tell your supplier, we need 250 units. Okay, so but your supplier will not deliver that immediately. They probably need a day or two or even a week. So you will continue the production, and hopefully before you running out of inventory, the new inventory will arrive, and then you will use it again, touch the blue, reorder, descend. That's happen over and over and over. Okay, and another concept on AOK is something is called the safety stock. Okay, what is safety stock? Safety stock is this green line. Safety stock. So AOK, the people who create AOK understand that it's not always the case it's not always the case that the supplier could send the product immediately, or if they usually send within 2 or 3 days, they could be delayed. Remember the other weeks that some shipment was stuck in Suez Canal because of some ship hull grounded, stuck there. Okay, so that could happen. Okay, that's why if you remember, the goal of AOK is to have enough or sufficient inventory not to disturb the business. That's why they always have safety stock. It was calculated so the amount of the inventory will never touch this. It will only decrease to this level if there is emergency, and even there is emergency, there's enough stock for waiting for the new inventory to arrive. Okay. So why AOK is not used anymore, or it has many weaknesses. First, it's assumed that the use of inventory is constant every month or every day, and you're probably aware that this is not the case. Take a look at our food and beverage, for example. The consumption of food and beverage are different from month to month. Why? Because if you look at it, the number of days in every month are different. So consumption will be different. And then there is a festive season, like now we have Ramadan, and then we will have Idul Fitri. People tend to consume more during those 2 months compared to the other months. Any holidays will increase consumption, and immediately after the holiday season, the consumption will fall. So different months will have different demand for our product. Therefore, it's unrealistic to assume that production will be the same from January to December. It will vary because the demand for our product will also vary. You could not produce, say for example, school uniform in January and hope that it will be sold immediately. The need for school uniform will be around July, the new school years. Okay, and so on and so forth. Okay, so and the next weaknesses of AOK is this green line, safety stock. With safety stock means at any time the company have to keep this much stock unused, stay in the warehouse. And I already told you, if a company have unused asset, that's a cardinal sin. All the assets need to be used for business, for productivity. Okay, having assets just sit in somewhere or in a warehouse is not productive. Company need to pay for this cost, but they could not sell this or use this for production. So there will be no revenue from this. Okay, that's why AOK need to be changed. Okay, and how to change that? Using the next two methods, which are material requirements planning or just in time. Material requirements planning used mainly by Western companies, while just in time was used by many Japanese companies because just in time came from Japanese, while material requirements planning came from Western countries like the US and Europe. So what's MRP? MRP seeks to reduce inventory level by improving the accuracy of forecasting technique and carefully scheduling production and purchasing around that forecast. So for example, I forecast in January that we will only produce 1,000 units. So we need materials 1,000 units. No more, no less. In February, if we produce 500 units, then we only need inventory 500 units. So we only purchase inventory based on that forecast. The better your forecast, the better it's more precision, it's more precise, then the difference will be negligible. So, for example, instead of having 100 units as safety stock, we can have like only 10 as safety stock. It will not make safety stock zero, but at least it can be reduced to very, very minimal with MRP. Just in time, different from MRP, where MRP make a prediction in the future how many products will be required on certain time month. Just in time only buy when there is a order. So if, and you can take example for this is Japanese car, new Japanese car. If you want to go to buy a new Japanese car in Indonesia, you could not immediately having that, especially the car that being produced in Indonesia. You need to order that car first, and then you need to wait until the car were produced or manufactured in the factory. Okay, so why? Because the production of Japanese car in Indonesia will only start once the customer order. So every car, Toyota for example, every car that coming out from Toyota manufacturing plant in West Java will have the name of the customer attached to it. Once it's finished, it will go to the truck and it will deliver to the nearest dealer, to the customer. Okay. So what are the similarities? The similarities are it's able to, for MRP, it's able to meet the sales estimate, therefore reducing the number of safety stock Just in time also have this capability of reducing the safety stock. However, MRP only it's better for products that have predictable demand, such as consumer staples, rice, for example. We could not produce rice after somebody ordered the rice. If I order 1 ton of rice and then you immediately goes to the rice field and grow rice, it's not worth it that way. We predict that in 3 months' time there will be this much rice in demand, so we plan this many rice in the rice field. Okay. While just in time is suited or it's good for products that have relatively short life cycles, like automotive or fashion or something associated with movies. Okay. If you look at cars or any motorcycles, Japanese especially in Indonesia, they will change their design every year. So every year they need to change the products. Okay. So both good in cost and efficiency. It can reduce, especially by eliminating or reducing significantly safety stock. Okay. Regardless of the inventory control method, the information we get from this system is what product, how many or how much, and when. Okay, so the product that we need to purchase is need to be requested formally. Okay, so what documents to gather data is called purchase requisition. Okay, so each unit that need a product or services will have to fill in purchase requisition, and purchase requisition consists of who is requesting goods, where they should be delivered, when they are needed, item numbers, description, quantities, and prices, basically the product, possibly suggested supplier, and department number and account number to be charged. For example, if our faculty need papers, then it will fill in purchase requisition and send it to the university. Okay. And our faculty have a budget on how many papers we can buy in a year. And also, we discuss this later about the quantities and price. So purchase requisition, it will be sent to purchasing agent or buyer or purchasing department. Or in many companies, it's called the procurement department. Okay. And this procurement department usually handle the purchasing activity. What are the decisions that we need to select which supplier will? The key consideration is obviously price. If everything else are equal, we need to select the lowest price, the cheapest. If everything else equal. Second, quality. Certain product need to be on certain quality. For example, paper. We need paper with certain weight, 70 grams, 80 grams, with certain size, A4, A3, and certain quality, like the whiteness of a paper, things like that. Is it for inkjet printer? Is it for photo? Is it for laser printer? Different paper, different usage. Okay. And dependability. It means that they should be able to supply us with whatever product they promise. Okay. Some supplier need to satisfy certain criteria like ISO or SNE or something like that. Okay. Once the supplier has been selected for a product, their product should be part of inventory master file, or the popular name for that master file is e-catalog or electronic catalog. So once the supplier selected, their product along with the price will be in e-catalog. Okay. Now, let me give you this example of e-catalog owned by the government of Indonesia. Okay. 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 Can you see this? Catalog Electronic V5.0. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
good. So this is the catalog owned by the government of Indonesia. So if, for example, the city of Yogyakarta want to buy a car, they just go to this. Okay, you are lucky because it's alive. Last week when I want to try to show this to other class, it has error. So for example, car. Oh, sorry, I have to select the. Okay, so for example, the city of Yogyakarta. Okay, so I want to have car. Okay, yes, select anything. Okay, let's see if I do. Say, for example, this. Let's try again. Okay, so for example, this one. Okay, so if the city of Yogyakarta want to buy this, what they need is just click this. It's including the price. Okay, and see, they have different location because, for example, the car price probably is the same, 200 something, but the tax, the local tax, and also the delivery cost will be different. But say, for example, I want to see this in Yogyakarta. Oh, it's cheaper, 220 million for this. Okay. So if I'm the city, I'm purchaser of city of Yogyakarta, what I need to do is just click buy this. Okay. Obviously, I need to log in first, but that's how it works. Okay. So yeah, that's the Indonesian government e-catalog. I was the consultant for this project in 2015, 2016. So I was involved in that. That's why I understand the inner words. Okay. Again, when we select the supplier, there is a possibility of fraud here with bribery, for example, because that's why usually the selection of supplier will follow a tender format. So the government of Indonesia will announce the opening of the tender. They will announce the requirements and also what document to submit and everything else. So a lot of potential supplier will submit their proposal and then it will be selected, evaluated by the committee created by the government. Okay. And all selection will be made transparent to the public. Okay. But that's not always the case. Okay. It's not all products could be selected by tender. Okay. There are some products that only one company or one country that made that product. Take a look at example of computers, for example. how many company made computers processor? Only 2 companies in the world, Intel and AMD. How many companies in the world make airplane for passengers? Only 2, Boeing and Airbus. That usually. Okay, so once the supplier being selected, they goes to e-catalog, and it will be evaluated regularly for what? Purchase price. When they promise for the year 2021, the purchase price for Nissan is on maximum 230 million, for example. Is it maximum 230 million? Lower is okay, but higher is not okay. Rework and scrap costs. How good the quality of the product they deliver. Can we use that product immediately, or should we rework it, repair it, or if it's so bad, we just scrap it or discard it? Okay, and supplier delivery performance. Okay, if a supplier could not keep up with their promises, then they should get out from catalog. Okay, so for products or services that purchase frequently, they can go to e-catalog. But for product that not purchase frequently, like for example buildings or building a road, then every time the government need that, they can have a tender. Okay. So how the process of purchasing start? The buyer or the purchasing agent will fill in purchase order. This is the same document as sales order, but seen from the buyer perspective. Sales order, a document seen by the seller. Okay. So what's the purchase order? Includes name of supplier and purchasing agent. So who buy and who's the seller. Order and requested delivery dates. When did you order it? When it should be delivered. Delivery location, city of Yogyakarta, for example. And shipping method. Will the customer pick the product, or will the supplier deliver the product? Okay. And details of the items ordered. One purchase order can be used for multiple purchase requests or purchase requisition. Okay, so if our faculty asking for papers, industrial engineering asking for papers, engineering asking for papers, there are 3 purchase requisitions. So purchasing agent, the procurement agent in the university just get them together and create one purchase order. But it could be the other way around. One purchase requisition can be translated into more than one purchase order because it's so big, so huge that no supplier could deliver that on their own. So probably if we order 1,000 papers, then for supplier only provide 500, then we need 2 suppliers. Okay. And that's translated into 2 purchase order. A blanket order is a commitment to buy specified items at specified price from a particular supplier for a set time period. So all the suppliers that get into Indonesian government e-catalog will have this blanket order. They will promise, the government of Indonesia promise to buy specified item at specified price from supplier. Supplier will promise to provide specified product, specified unit at specified price. So again, e-catalog, the IT, it will improve. Okay. And then after we order the product, the supplier will deliver the product, and it will be received by receiving department and will be stored in the warehouse. Okay. Receiving department will have 2 responsibilities, which is deciding whether to accept delivery of product or not. And then if they decided to accept the delivery, verifying the quantity and quality of products. Okay, so the first decision, deciding whether to accept delivery or not, is based on valid purchase order. Only delivery with purchase order will be accepted. Otherwise, it will be rejected. Remember, last week I gave you example on how to manipulate sales target by creating fake or fictitious purchase order or sales order. So if the salesperson created fictitious sales order, there will be no valid purchase order here. So no valid purchase order, no acceptance. Okay. So if it's accepted, there's a valid purchase order, then inspect the product. Is there any differences between the order and the delivery? We order 1,000, but they only deliver 500. That's fine. It need to be verified because then we only pay for the products we order and receive. If we order 1,000 but only receive 500, then we only pay for that 500, nothing more. Okay, and also for the inventory record to be updated accurately. Okay. Once the receiving department finishes, they will create a receiving report. Okay, and the receiving report will be based for payment later. Okay. What happens if there is a discrepancies or difference between the order and the product received? Accept it and then let the buyers or purchasing agent or procurement knows. When I was head of computer labs in 2007, I ordered like 200. I request purchase of about 200 units of computer with 512 RAM. The supplier sent 200 computers with only 256 RAM, half what I ordered. I accept the products and then I told the procurement department, deal with the supplier, they delivered the wrong specification. So what happened was the supplier was fined by the purchasing department. Okay, so don't argue with the delivery guys because they just delivery guys. They probably doesn't understand. They also probably from different companies that being hired by the supplier to deliver the product. So just if it's not on the purchase order, reject it. If you decided to accept it, report to the purchasing department. So again, this is how technology could help. So after we accept the product, we need to pay for that product. Okay, there are two basic sub-process. First, approval of the vendor invoice, and second, actual payment of the invoice. So it starts with approval. Once you accept the product delivered by the supplier, legally you obliged to pay. But again, most company will pay after they accept or receive the invoice. The invoice could be delivered separately after the receiving report delivered to the supplier, or the invoice could be delivered directly with the product. Okay. Objective of the accounts payable, the one department that handle the invoice, is only authorize payment only for goods and services that were ordered and actually received. So they need purchase order and also they need receiving report. They compare. The invoice need to be matched with the purchase order and also the receiving report. Purchasing order verifying that we indeed ordering this product. Receiving order verifying that we indeed receiving the ordered product. So we match them with the invoice, and if it's matched, the account payable will authorize the payment. They will probably, if it's hard copy, they will stamp it to be paid or authorized to be paid. Okay. We'll be using non-voucher system or voucher system. Non-voucher system is for each invoice, it will be marked paid. With voucher system, you wait until end of the month to pay all the invoices. Okay. Second, actual payment of the invoice. This is done by cashier. So the invoice along with the purchase order and also the receiving report will goes to the cashier, and cashier will be paying that invoice. Again, the cashier need to check whether the invoice match the receiving report and also match the purchase order. And as I mentioned to you last week, as much as possible, avoid paying cash except for petty cash, small payment under $1 million, for example. But any others, use non-cash payment, bank transfer, credit card, check, or whatever. So this is the structure, organizational structure, of all the parties involved in expenditure cycles. So purchasing agent, this is the one who create the purchase order, goes to the customer, to the supplier. Supplier will send the product, it will be received and checked by receiving department. Receiving department will create receiving report, and then the product itself will be stored by inventory or warehouse. Once the receiving report finished, then the supplier could send invoice to account payable. Account payable will check with purchasing department. Is there any valid purchase order? We'll check with the receiving department. Is there any valid receiving report? Match the invoice with purchase order and receiving report, and then authorize payment for that invoice. And then the invoice go to cashier. Cashier will pay the amount of that invoice. Okay, that's it for expenditure cycle. Any question? Okay, if there is no question, that's it for today. See you on the next lecture. Good day.
Thank you, sir. Have a nice
Thank you,
day.
sir.
Thank you, sir.